So, firstly, we'll be talking about Git and GitHub. Okay, Git and GitHub, they are most times mistaken to be the same. Okay, but they are actually not the same. Git and GitHub they are different. Okay, I really don't know. Um, Firstly, I would like to ask: are you familiar with the platform GitHub?
For me, I'm familiar with platform.
Okay, you are familiar with the platform. Okay.
Yes.
So Git and GitHub, they are actually not the same. Git is more like a, a project on your computer that tracks your changes. Okay. While GitHub is more like the online platform that keep tracks of your changes. So mainly this class, we are just going to run through like an introduction, and I would like it to be more like an interactive class so that we can not just engage, because right now currently it's just both of us that are in the class. So I would like it to be an introductory section. Just give me a minute. Let me see if I can pull up the notes.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. Okay. So like I was saying, I said Git and GitHub, they are two different things. Okay. You can actually have Git for your projects that are stored locally on your computer, while on GitHub is more like a cloud-based system that holds your Git repository. Okay, and this helps to enable collaboration, whereby you can share your codes, you can collaborate with other developers. Okay, so but firstly, before you share your code or before you give access to your GitHub repository, firstly, you need to make sure that your codes are properly documented. Okay, you need to make sure that your codes are properly documented, because documentation, you see, is very, very important, especially when it comes to collaborating with other engineers or developers. Okay, because this will help them to understand what your code is about. Okay, so documentation is very, very important when working as a developer. And one way we can document our code is by using the markdown. Okay, you can use the markdown file to document your code. I don't know if you are familiar with the markdown file. Are you familiar with it?
Not maybe I've heard of it, but I've not used it.
Okay, the markdown file is more like a text file. Okay, it's more like a text file, but with it, you'll be able to format the documentation of your code to make it readable and easy to understand. Okay, so to create a markdown file, when you're working on your project, you can either create a readme.md. The file extension for your markdown file is .md. Okay, so you can create a readme. That readme, you can use it as the documentation of your project. Okay, so let me see if I can maybe share my screen so we can go through it together. Okay, you can let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. So, like I was saying, I said if you want to document your code, you use the Markdown file. And to create the Markdown file, it normally ends with the extension MD.
Empty.
Okay. So you can create a new file. Do you have a VS Code installed already on your system?
Yes.
Okay. You can open your project, and on your VS Code, you can just create a new file, and let's say readme.md. Okay. So that's the file extension for the Markdown files. Okay. And when creating your Markdown file, firstly, what you need to understand is the structure. Okay. You need to understand the structure. Though it's a text document, but there are ways you need to structure this document to make it readable. Okay. So for instance, if you want to create heading are being noted with this hash sign. Can you see the hash on my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So if you want to create an heading for your project, you use the hash sign. Just this single hash sign, it signifies heading 1. If you want to create heading 2, let's do that. H1. That's for heading 1. Let's preview. The H1 is for, or rather, this hash sign, single hash sign is for heading 1. Then the double hash sign is for heading 2. Okay, just like that.
HTML.
Yes, H3, that's for heading 3. Okay, so when writing or documenting your project, you most times make use of headings. So you need to note these symbols or these signs. Okay, so we have heading 1, heading 2 up to heading 6, just like HTML. Okay, so these are the ways you add heading. So for instance, now let's just call this our main uh, heading 1. Okay, so this is the main, more like the main heading of our document. Then this can be the subheadings, just like H1, H2, H3. Okay, so also after adding headings to your document, you can write your normal text or description. Let me see if I can use my paragraph. You can just write your content. Okay. Then also one other thing you need to note is that there are some texts you might want to highlight or make it bold. Okay. There are some text you might want to highlight or make bold. So how do you do that? You use the asterisk. That's the star.
Just like in WhatsApp.
Yes, you use the asterisk. I think it's double asterisk. Bold. Yeah, it should be double asterisk. Use the double asterisk to make text bold. Use the is RIK to text bold. Okay, these are just mainly for documentation. Okay, these are mainly for documentation because if you want to push your code to GitHub, you have to document your code so that anyone that gets access to that code will be able to use it. Okay, so this is how you create bold text or highlighted text. Use the asterisk. Then also you can also create list. You can create list. And how do you create list? You create list using the hyphens. Okay, you create list using hyphens. For instance, you can say list. You understand? You can create list list item. Okay, so you create list using hyphens. So hyphens, let's say for instance, in your documentation, you might want to list out some features on your code. Let's say, let's just use this and say feature one. Feature two. Okay. So you use the hyphens to create list for your codes. Okay. So you can also link images. Images in the sense that, let's say on your project, you want to share screenshots of some of the screen sizes. Okay, Mr. Azaya, you can go ahead with your question.
Please, is it possible to link this code to the HTML?
To HTML,
Yes, the way you can link CSS now to HTML, can you still link this one to HTML?
not really HTML. Like I was saying, this is mainly for documentation.
He joined late.
You understand?
Okay, okay.
It's mainly for documentation, and you add this to your project file, or your project folder rather. You add it to your project folder.
Okay.
So you can also link images. Let's say, for instance, you want to link an image. You can use this square, I think it's called square brackets. You can use the square brackets followed by the location or the part of that particular image. You can say something like, let's say we have the image here, /. I don't think I have any image here on my, let me just screenshot. Um, Let me create a folder. Let me copy an image to this folder. It's not moving. Okay. So let's say we want to link this image. We can just add it, go to our image folder, our product image, then we give it a name. I just give it a descriptive name. Let's say, let's just call this screenshot. Screenshots, and we add our exclamation. Yeah. So this is how you link your images in your markdown file. Okay. So let's say when you are documenting your project, you want to add some screenshots of that particular project. Let's say it might be the login screen, or you want to direct the users on how to go about the setup process, and you want to add different images or different screenshots. You can do this using your markdown file. So when the user sees that particular image, the user gets to understand how to go about it. That's one of the main importance of this markdown documentation. Okay. You can also
Sorry,
add.
Mr. Setting. Please, can
Okay.
you maximize your screen a bit? Thanks.
Okay. Can you see it clearly now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Let me zoom in. Okay. So that's how you link your images to the markdown file. Okay. As well, you can also add code blocks. You can add code blocks using backticks. can add code blocks using backtick. Your backtick is the key before the number 1 in your keyboard. You know that key before the number 1 in your keyboard? That's backtick. This is it. You can use it to add code blocks. You can use it to add code blocks to your Markdown file. Okay. Then also, mainly your Markdown file is mainly used for documentation. Okay, it's mainly used for documentation, but you just need to have the idea on how to structure your Markdown file, because despite it's a text document, but it follows a particular structure. You don't just write plain text document on it. It follows a particular structure so that your documentation will be easy to read and understand. Okay, just like when you are writing a letter. When you are writing a letter has a title, and also the letter has the body. Okay, you don't want to write the body with the heading tag. Okay, and you don't want to write the heading with the paragraph tag. Okay, that way the letter won't be that readable. Okay, so basically that's the main importance of documenting your code. You have to document your code. So, like I said, when documenting your code, you can create the README file, the readme.md file. That's where you can write most of the documentation. Though you can give it a different name, but it is recommended that when documenting your code or when creating a documentation, you add it to your readme.md file. If you are familiar with GitHub and you check most repositories on GitHub, you will notice that their documentation or the steps to use that particular code, they are being stated inside the readme.md file. So basically, that's the main use of the readme.md file. So that said, I would like, let's move on to how to create our Git on our local computer. How to create a Git project on our local computer. Okay. Firstly, note that Git is for version control. Okay. It's a way of saving some changes, those changes that we make in our project. Git help us to keep track of those changes. For instance, let's say you are writing an essay. You are writing an essay. At some point, you might write, let's say, some part of the body, and you might just, let's say you are lost of words and you want to continue later on. You save that particular part you have written up to. Okay. Then let's say later on, you might come, you write some other content. Okay. You save it. Then maybe before you get to the final or the concluding part of the essay, you might have done several changes to that particular document. Okay, so that's how Git works. Git helps you to keep track of those changes you've made. So let's say, for instance, now you want to roll back to a particular time or a particular stage. Let's say at the point where you wrote the first paragraph or the second paragraph, you want to roll back to that particular stage, you'll be able to do that using Git. So the main function of Git is to keep track of those changes that you make on your project. You don't want to have a situation whereby you are writing, let's say you are writing a letter and you've written the first paragraph and you just save that particular document as essay1 document or first paragraph, you just save it. Then you want to write again, you come back, you say second paragraph. Okay, Git helps to remove those instead of you creating multiple documents, Git helps you to track those changes instead. That in a situation you can revert to a particular period of time or a particular stage in your project. So basically, that's what Git does. Git is a version control system that helps you to track changes in your files, changes in your project. Just as you make edits, as you make modifications to those projects, to those files, Git helps you to track those changes. So one thing is why I said Git and GitHub, they are most times confused as the same thing, is that they do similar thing, but Git can be on your local computer. Okay, you can install Git on your local computer and keep track of those changes. Why GitHub is more like the cloud-based version of Git that helps to keep track of your changes, and also it helps for collaboration. Okay, so one other thing we'll look at is why is source code management important? Why is source code management important? I would like to know, since you are already familiar with GitHub, can you just give me one reason why source code management is important? Okay.
For me, source code management is very important. First and foremost, it's help in collaboration. A task you can do alone for a numbers of months. You can add in collaborators. They know what you have done,
Okay.
how you've done it, what you have achieved. They can contribute through them. Also, it can give you a track of what you have done. Okay, I want to recall back to what I have done. I had a mistake that, maybe you started a coding project. All of a sudden, your login can't work. You can't sign out, and you've gone a long way. So it can just help you do a rollback to that particular point. So it keeps a snapshot of all your activities immediately you push to your branch outside your master branch.
Yes. So source code helps you to keep track of the history of changes that you've made on a particular project, so that in a situation whereby you want to revert to a particular state, you'll be able to get to that particular state. That's true. So, Mr. Azaya, do you have any contribution?
Yeah, I said it all now. That
Okay.
is it.
Okay, that's good. Also, source code management also helps with branching. Like you said, when developers are working on a particular project, they can create multiple branch. Okay, they can create multiple branches on that particular project, whereby you can be working on a particular feature before you merge with the main branch. You just be working on it on a particular branch, so as to avoid conflicting with the main branch. Okay, so that's one of the importance of source code management. Also, there are different types of version control system, or there are different platforms that does version control system. I think there's one called what is it called again? It's not only GitHub. Yes, there's GitLab. Yes, there's GitLab. Also, there's
Bitbucket.
Yes, there's Gitbucket. Yeah. So there are different platforms that does it. Okay. Then also, Git is one of the most popular version control system in the world, and is being created by Linus in 2005. It was created in 2005. And if you are as someone working on a project, it is important for you to understand Git. It is important for you to understand Git, because at some point you might be working with other developers or other engineers, and you want to collaborate with them. With your knowledge of Git, you'll be able to collaborate with them successfully. Okay, because that's mainly what Git does. It helps in collaboration. It helps in collaboration, and also it helps you to keep track. Let's say, for instance, in a situation you are having an issue with a particular project you are working on, at some point in time, there was not issue like that. You can easily roll back to that particular point where you have no issue, okay? So Git helps you with that as well. So let's also look at, we talked about the version control system and the importance of source code management. This class is more like an introductory class just to give you an heads up on what you should know about version control. So let's look at initializing a Git in a project. When you are working on a project, by default, Git is not always initialized in that particular project, which means Git does not keep track of any changes you make on that project. So firstly, if you want to keep track of those changes, you have to initialize Git in that project. Okay, so how do you initialize Git? There are some commands you use to initialize Git, and you mainly do that using the terminal. Okay, if you are working with VS Code, you can open the built-in terminal in VS Code by using the Control Shift and the backtick to open your terminal. Okay, I think I already have Git initialized on this project. But to initialize your Git, what you just need to type is to type this command, git init. Okay, git init. Okay, I already have Git initialized already. That's why you are seeing it here saying we initialize existing Git repository. Okay, so after initializing this Git in your project, it helps you to keep track. Okay, Mr. Azaya, do you have a question?
Sorry, how do you come to this place again?
Okay, is the terminal. You can go to
Mr. Self here, use that pattern so that we understand.
There's a terminal here. On your VS Code, if you look at it at the top, you see this terminal option. And there's a shortcut for it, which is Control, Shift, and your backtick.
Control what? Control
Shift and backtick.
backtick.
Yes. The backtick is the key before the number one. Before one on your keyboard.
Okay.
Yes, that's the
Control
backtick.
Shift on the. Okay, thanks. I've seen it.
So that's how you initialize your Git in your project. So after initializing your Git, you might also want to check your Git status to know if it has been initialized. You just type Git status. And it will tell you, okay, on branch main, your branch is up to date. It's just like giving you an overview of what Git is tracking. Okay, you can see it here. It says on tracked files. You can see them. Okay, to include in what will be committed. You can see all of them. So this Git status is going to give you an idea of what is the current, what are the files that are being modified. Just like it's going to give you an overview of everything. Okay. And also we have different commands. We have the git add, git commit, and the git commit with a message. Okay. Mr. Lukman, were you saying something?
No. I wanted to pick something.
Okay. So after initializing, you can add your files. You can either add a single file, or you can add all the files in your project. Let's say you want to keep track of all the files. I have all of these files here. You can say git add, then follow with the dot. This is going to add all my files. That Git should monitor all of these files for different changes. Okay, if I should use git add followed by the file name, Git is going to keep track of that particular file. But since we want to keep track of all our files, just use the git add followed with the dot. You click on enter. And right now, Git is going to monitor changes that are happening on that particular files that I've added. Okay. Then if you want to commit, what does commit mean? Commit means it's more like you saving your changes. Okay. Git commit is more like you saving your changes. But the way it works is that when you are saving your changes, you need to add a message, a descriptive message to that particular commit or that particular changes you want to save. For instance, let's say you are designing a website and at some point you've worked on the nav bar. You know the nav bar where you have those menu and logo. Okay, so let's say you've worked on the nav bar and you want to save that particular stage, which means let's say you have finished working on the nav bar and you want to save it. You can just add a description to your commit message. You can just say something like finish working on the nav bar. Okay, or let's say you solved a particular issue on a particular website. Let's say you have a website and the contact form is not sending out messages. Okay, and after you've resolved that issue, you can add a commit, or you can save your files and add a commit message saying fix contact issues. You understand? So that's how it works. And how do you do that? You use the git commit command. You say, let me clear the terminal. You use the command git commit followed by the message. The message you want to type now is the description of what you have done, the changes you have made. Let's say you removed a file, or you fixed a bug, or you added a new feature. Okay, followed by the message. Let's say updated our README. Just click on enter. And it's going to update or save, keep track of these particular changes. It's going to create something like a snapshot of those changes that we've made, so that whenever we want to revert to this particular stage, where we updated our README, we'll be able to revert to that particular stage. So Git helps you to keep track. It creates something like a snapshot. It creates a snapshot of your project. It tells you all the changes that you've made, so that whenever you want to revert to a particular point in time, you'll be able to do that. Okay, and that's why it is important that when you are creating your commit, you need to add a descriptive message. Don't just add messages, random messages like first commit, second commit, third commit. Okay, if you do that, you notice that at some point you get confused. Let's say you want to revert to a particular point in time, you get confused. What is first commit? What is second commit? I don't know if you have experienced something like that, Mr. Lukman.
I do my commit in a more understandable way, so that I won't get hooked one way or the other.
I didn't get you.
I said most times I don't use first commit, second. I go straight to the features I have added or the features I have removed.
Yes. So, Mr. Azar, you get it now, right?
Yes. I'm still copying. I'm still copying to understand, sha, but understand is most one.
Okay. If there is any point you are not clear, we are just two in the class, so you can just quickly draw my attention to it.
Okay,
So
no problem.
the commit message needs to be very descriptive, so that you understand the changes that you've made. if you've added a new feature, if you have fixed a bug, you know, okay, at this point, I've been able to fix a particular bug on the code. So that whenever you want to revert to that particular point in time, you will easily identify it, okay, this is the stage, or this is the point I want to revert to. So that's the reason for adding a commit message. So Git rather is very important, but you also need to know how to use it. You also need to know how to use it. It's not just something you just save. It helps you to keep track of your code, but also if you are not saving your changes properly, you find it difficult to revert to a particular stage or a particular point in time. Okay, so you have to make use of you have to make sure that your commit messages are descriptive and also something that you will understand. Okay, there is also something called the git ignore. The git ignore is a file that we create for our project. Why we create this file is that there are some sensitive information that you don't want to give out or you don't want to publish in your repository. Okay, you don't want those information to be public. You add those files to your git ignore. With this, Git will not keep track of those files that are in your git ignore. It will ignore those files. When you are pushing your code to your repository, Git will not keep track of those files. It will not push those files to your repository. For instance, files like your API keys. You don't want to make your API key accessible to the public. So you can add those files to your git ignore. Then if you are used to working with Node Package Manager, if you are used to working with those NPM or you are used to working with React, you know that your node modules, you don't have to push your node modules to your GitHub repository. Okay, so how do you do that? Or how do you prevent Git from keeping track of those files or from settings file and folder? You come to your main project directory and create a new file called git ignore. You start with .git ignore. Git ignore. Okay, so this is the file. In this file, you specify the folders or files that you don't want to push or you don't want Git to keep track of. For instance, if you are used to working with maybe React or backend, you know a file called .env file. .env file. This is a file where you normally store your environment variables like your API key, your ports, and other maybe your secret key, password hash. This is where you normally store those files. So you don't want your .env file to be available in your GitHub repository, or you don't want Git to keep track of this file. So you come to your git ignore, you specify it here and say .env. Okay, since you have done this now, whenever you are saving or whenever you are making any commits, Git will not keep track of this file because you specified it there that it shouldn't track such file. Okay, is that clear?
Yeah.
Mr. Paul, you are welcome. Okay. Okay, so also there's a folder called node models. If you are used to working with a React project or backend project, there's a folder called node modules. Yeah, node modules. You don't want Git to keep track of such files. Okay, so with the git ignore file, what it basically does is that it tells Git never to track those files. Whenever you are making any commits, it will ignore those files. Okay, so just like the name states, the git ignore, it helps you to ignore those files that are being added to that particular file, like .env, node models. There are different folder. It all depends on the project you are working on and the files you don't want to make public or you don't want to add to your repository. Okay, so basically that's what you use the git ignore file to do. Okay, so let's look at branches. Okay, let's look at branches. Okay, in Git, like I said, Git helps you to collaborate with other developers. So let's look at a situation whereby there are 3 developers working on a particular project, okay, and they have access to the GitHub repository. So let's say they are working on that project. And for instance, one developer is working on the login page, the other is working on the sign up page, and maybe one is working on the dashboard. At some point, one might have finished working on the login page and decide to work on the sign up page, not knowing someone is also working on that particular page. Okay, so something like that, if there's no proper communication, it might cause a conflict on the code. Okay, so the right way to do that is to create a branch, or the right way to avoid such conflict is to create a branch that as a developer, when you are working on a particular feature or you are trying to fix a particular bug or a particular problem in the project, you can create a branch. Okay, aside the main branch or the master branch, you can create a branch to write your own code or to fix whatever bug you are fixing. Okay, so branch help developer to divert from the main line of development and continue to work independently. So when a developer creates a branch, it's more like it's creating a diversion, though he's still working on the project, but he's working completely independent. Okay, it means that code that the developer is writing on that particular branch are being stored on that branch. That whenever the team comes together, okay, what have you done so far? They want to compare their code. They can now merge the changes from that branch into the main branch. I don't know if that is clear. Okay. If that is not clear, you can just let me know. Mr. Azaya and Mr. Paul. Okay, that's good. So branch is like creating a separate, you are creating like a diversion. Okay, you are creating a diversion for the changes or the bugs or whichever fix you want to make on a particular code or a particular project. Okay, so that it does not conflict or it does not merge with the main branch. You are just creating like a temporary diversion from the line of development. Okay, so that's basically what branch does. So as a developer, whenever you are working on a project, it is advisable that since the project is a team project, you can create a branch. You can create a branch. And how do you create a branch? To create a branch, you use the command git branch. Okay, git branch, and you can give it a descriptive name. You can just say git branch feature, or you can say git branch login. Depend on what you are working on, but just try to create a descriptive name so that you can easily identify it. Okay, is that clear? So after you've created a branch, whatever commits or whatever changes you make, they are going to be synchronized with that branch you are currently working on. Whatever commits or whatever changes you make will be linked to that branch you are currently working on. So after you've made your commits, you've linked with your branch. After some time, let's say the project manager can just go through it and decide to merge those code together. Okay, that's to pull your code from your branch and merge with the one in the main branch. So basically, that's how it works. The branch helps to create like a diversion so that as a developer, you can work independently on that project. Okay, you can work independently on that project without altering the main branch. So let's also talk about merging. Merging, like I said, is when you are combining the changes from a branch into the main branch. Okay, you are trying to bring those changes now that are being done or that are being worked on by a particular developer. Let's say a developer was assigned the role to fix the issue of the contact form not sending out messages. Okay, the developer was assigned to do that, and that developer created a branch to fix that particular bug. So after fixing that bug, those changes that developer has made will not be pulled or merged with the main branch. Okay, those changes will not be pulled or merged with the main branch so that it will synchronize with the main project. So the main project is more like the original or the actual project, while those branches are just like the sub projects that are being worked on independently. Okay, so is that clear? Are you clear with the explanation?
Sorry, sir. But
Okay.
like now, if somebody is coding now, and
Yes,
as he said that he's done with his own login page. So
yes,
he's now moving on to like another thing, and that branch will make sure
yes,
that you're working independently on your own.
yes,
Abi? So if they are now merging everything together now, the code that the login person like code like I don't know if you are getting like the other one that he did will
yes.
not will not be in the main branch.
Yes, it will not be in the main branch. Once you are working on, let's say for instance, now you are working on a particular branch. Let's say you are working on the login page. You created a branch to work on a feature in the login page. Okay, that feature you are working on.
Let me help you.
Okay,
Let me help you. Mr. Isaiah, we
Sir.
like using a live example. Assuming we have different houses, they have debts, debt breach, and we have a very mighty dump that all those truck go to drop or dispose everything. You put your own
Uh,
at the front of your house. Another person put at the own. So that big truck will be the measure. Okay, let me pick your, let me pick your, let me go and dump it in the final
okay.
place so that you will not mess up that place. You
The
don't know how
code.
to, so you just keep on pushing your own. The project coordinator will check, okay, these features is working. Okay, let me merge to the main branch.
branch.
That's it.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
yeah, you're
You're
welcome.
welcome.
So, thank you very much, Mr. Lukman.
Okay.
So that's the main feature of creating a branch. So whatever changes you are making, it remains on that your branch unless it has been merged. That's when it gets synchronized with the main branch. So that's how the branching work on Git. Okay, so what is let's see. So basically, this is like an overview of Git. So let's just try to do a recap of what we've talked about so far. Like I said, Git and GitHub, they are different things, okay? Or they are different platforms or service, okay? Git helps you to keep track of your changes, okay? Then why GitHub? which is more like the most popular version control system. GitHub is a cloud-based Git. Okay, is a class-based Git in the sense that it's a website and it helps you to keep track of your changes as well. Just like the Git you can have on your local computer that keeps track of your project. Just as you are working on your project, the Git you have on your system can keep track of those changes you are making. The cloud Git as well, which is GitHub, can also keep track of those changes you are making. But the difference is that the one you have on just your local computer, you can't collaborate with other developers with it because it's mainly on your local computer. Only you are the only one that can access it. Okay. But if you want to collaborate with other developers, that's where you need GitHub or GitLab. Okay. So that you'll be able to share your codes, others can access it, they can create their branch, work on a particular feature, fix a particular bug, and you work on the project together. So that's the main difference between the Git and GitHub. Okay. So I said Git is more like a version control system. It helps you to keep track of the changes. It creates a snapshot of the changes you make on your project so that whenever you want to revert to a particular state or a particular point in time, it will be easier for you. And how do you make this very easy for you? Is by using a descriptive commit message. Whenever you are saving or whenever you are making a commit on your project, you need to make sure that the message that you use is very descriptive and it's something you can easily understand that, okay, this is what was done at this point in time. Okay, it is very important that whenever you are creating or making a commit, make sure that your message is very descriptive so that you get to understand how to go back or how to roll back to any parts of the code or any point of the code. Okay. And then also we talked about Markdown. Okay. I said Markdown is mainly used for documentation. Markdown is mainly used for documentation. It is actually a plain text document. Okay. It's more like your text file, just like your TXT file. Okay. It's a plain text document, but it has a particular structure that it follows if you want to format it. Okay, just like when you are typing on your MS Word. Your MS Word, if you want to select a heading, you need to go to your tools bar and pick the heading, either heading 1, heading 2, or heading 3. Okay, just to format the text to make it readable. Same also with the Markdown file. You can also format your Markdown file by using for instance, if you want to create your heading, you use the hash sign. Just one hash sign is equivalent to the heading 1. So whenever you are using the hash sign, if you are using just one, it's more like you are creating an heading 1. If you are using 2, it's for heading 2. If you are using 3, it's for heading 3. And they are up to 6. Okay, so we have up to 6 heading. H1, H2, H3, up to H6, heading 6. Okay. Then also we talked about how you can make some text bold, like you want to highlight some text. Okay. So you can use the double asterisk, which is this star. You can use it to highlight some text to make it bold. Then if you want to create a list, you use the hyphens to create a list. More like you are listing out a features or you want to list out the steps to install a particular software or to run a particular code. You can use the hyphen to list them out. Okay. Then if you want to add an image to your documentation, you use the square brackets. Use the square brackets. Okay, Mr. Azaya, you can go ahead.
I forgot to ask. How are you able to see the work that you are doing? Like as you are coding it, you are able to see what is
Okay,
displaying.
the markdown file.
Okay, is the markdown file?
Are you talking about the markdown file, which is this one where we
Uh,
have the quiz
yes,
image?
yes, yes.
Okay, you can use a previewer. I'm currently using a previewer. I'm using a
Okay.
previewer. It's an extension. It's an extension.
Okay, so I have to download the extension.
Yes, you have to download it. I think it's live
Okay,
preview. That should be the name of the extension. It be live preview. Yeah, I think this is it.
okay,
Live preview. So with this, you'll
okay,
be able to preview what you are doing. It's mostly used for HTML when you are writing HTML so that you get to see what you are working on. So
okay,
this is an overview on how you can create your documentation. Then also you can create block of code by using this backtick to create the codes. You can use it to create the codes. So basically that will be all. This class is mainly an introductory class. Maybe as from next class you get to go deeper into the course. Okay. So for now, if you have any question, you can just let me know. If you have any question with what we've discussed so far.
For me, not for the setting of the class. I enjoyed the class and it was very lively and interactive. I wanted
Okay.
to know the scope of our DevOps training. What are we expecting? So, are we expecting at the end of this training we can work as a DevOps engineer, or we can use some tools just like we started with the major one, which is the version control. So,
Okay. The course outline, hopefully it will be sent to your group so you can have an idea on what we are going to cover during the course of the training. Okay.
also, I will interact with you personally outside the class, if that is okay by you.
Okay, that's no problem. That's no problem. But currently, I'm just standing in place for your instructor. So hopefully, from next class, maybe you have an instructor.
Okay.
Yeah. So no problem. I will communicate with your instructor so he can forward the course outline, so you can get an overview of what to expect during the training. And maybe it will also help you to study ahead of classes. That's clear, right?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Azaya, do you have anything else to say?
Is clear.
Okay, okay, no problem. So that will be the end of today's class. Hopefully our next class will be on Saturday. But don't
This
worry,
the Saturday that's coming.
communication. You said?
Is it the Saturday that's coming?
Yes, next Saturday.
Okay.
So it will be communicated. The time for the classes will be communicated in the group. Okay, that will be all for now. And
Thank
do
you
have
very
a
much.
nice day. All right, thank you. You're welcome.